How's it going, everyone? I'm the Tumblemeister, here with the sole purpose of building better tumblers. In this video, we're going over the 5 tips that are going to improve your back tucks the most. Let's get it. Back tucks are usually the first flipping skill in a tumbler's progression. The minimum requirements I usually have for a tumbler to really start working on back tucks is usually a round off back handspring with a rebound, usually out of a power hurdle or a drop step, and standing 2 back handsprings with a rebound. Trying back tucks here and there with a spot usually is never bad, and it usually is a good confidence builder for tumblers, but a tumbler shouldn't be really working on that amount of flipping until after they get those requirements. Regardless of how you learned your back tuck or where you're doing it, applying these 5 tips to your back tucks will start making it feel like a warm-up skill. Tip 1 is make up a part of the rebound, not the flip. The reason those requirements are important for me is that I want my tumblers to have all the up parts of their flip to be in the beginning stages of their tumbling and on the easier skills like their round off and their back handsprings. If a tumbler is always going up from their rebounds, coming from their round offs and their back handsprings, when they start incorporating their flips into their tumbling, now all they have to start really focusing on is entering in the direction that the flip is going in. For back tucks, it would be back. The 3 most important direction concepts in tumbling are up for height, the direction of the flip for flow, so front for front tumbling, back for back tumbling, and then a combination of the 2, which is how you flip. If a tumbler knows that they're always going up at the end of all their previous skills, then when they go into their tucks, they only have one direction to go in, which helps their mind not hesitate. We want all the complicated things to be on the easier skills, so all the thinking should be on the round off and the back handspring. When we think about our flip entry, we should think direction, back. I also like to tell my tumblers to think of the word spine because it helps them think about going back in a more symmetrical way. Eliminating arching or throwing the head back has to come from the beginning and from the learning stages, otherwise it's going to be a lot harder if the tumbler has learned it as a bad habit. Tip number 2. Up is more perfect or more difficult, and back is easier or with more flow. Now this is an enhancement of tip number 1, but we want to look at the direction of going up as making a skill more perfect, but generally not easier. Tumblers don't need a lot of height to land back tucks. There's a reason why it is a very thrown skill standing as well as running. Focusing on height is going to take away the focus from the flip. You can always land a lower flip, but you're generally not going to flip at a certain height. Once a tumbler is comfortable flipping and they know they can go every time they need to, then they can start applying the height after. Once a tumbler is landing their back tucks more comfortably, you can start applying more mats and stacking mats and making them go over stuff so that they can start having a more visual of how to get their tucks higher. More spotting from the tumbler is required when adding more height. Tumblers start throwing their head backs early because they start thinking about that height too much instead of thinking about entering their flip with the right technique and then adding the height to that technique so that they don't have the bad habits to go with it. If they're focusing on the difficult part first instead of the easy, more wanted part first, then they're gonna have to start creating cheat codes and hacks to get into the flip that we don't want. Learn the skill the right way, then make it harder after you do so. If you're getting value from this video and learning something, please subscribe and hit that bell button so you can be notified of future videos. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Tip number 3 is only land on your feet. I hate when tumblers say that they have to do a bad one or they have to fall to get comfortable. If you can fall and get comfortable, you can land and get twice or 3 times as comfortable. Beginning stages of landing back tucks is like walking in the dark. You may not know where you're going, but you can still orient yourself where you need to be. I like to tell my tumblers that we have a quarter of what cats have, and if you flip a human, they should have some kind of innate want to get to their feet instead of landing on their head. Usually people that aren't thinking with a tumbler mindset start trying to get into defensive positions and they start trying to protect themselves with their upper body and their hand. This is a huge no-no. One leg can protect you more than both of your hands. Building a good habit of only getting to your feet will one day save you when you are actually getting lost or you don't know where you're at in a flip and your body is just getting yourself where it always has been taking it. As many bad habits that are built in back tucks and in the processes when learning the tumbler's flipping skills, we can create just as many good habits that come from doing them over and over and over. Only land on your feet. A tumbler should have an allergic reaction to falling to their hands. Tip number 4 is it's better to over rotate than under rotate. Tumblers that use an in-the-middle mindset are usually the worst hesitators. If a skill has to have less or more, I want my tumblers doing more. There's a confidence that comes from knowing that you did too much and now you can focus on more important things to get a better result. If a tumbler feels that they don't have enough, now they're going to start trying to use bad habits and little hacks that don't work in the long run for their improvement of their tumbling. This tip is so important, even all the way up to the most elite skills like double backs and triple fulls. If you are continuing your body in the direction that it had started going in, then you're going to take a lot of weight off body parts on either bad falls or even the best and highest quality landing. There's a lot of injuries and a lot of damage that can be done when falling to the front of your body and putting pressure on the front of your ankles and on the front of your knees. And if you fall forward to your wrists, I mean, they're not made to hold up that much weight falling forward, especially from very high heights. If you get to your feet and then have a little too much and then you land on your butt or you can roll to your back, that's way safer than, again, falling forward and putting your weight on your knees, your ankles, or on your wrists. And I don't think I need to say that nobody wants to fall on their face. This is the money maker. Using step backs and hop backs on landing are another great habit to build when trying to get rid of that idea of putting the hands on the floor. If a tumbler always is thinking land, hop back, land, step back, then they're not thinking land, touch down, land, fall on my face. Tip number 5 is work harder variations and progress to harder skills. Your hardest skill is your hardest skill no matter what. If you're working on back tucks and that's your hardest skill, it's going to be very hard to make it one of your easier skills until you start progressing either to harder variations of back tucks or to harder skills, more difficult skills like layouts, fulls, doubles. This is usually in the ending stages of a tumbler learning their back tuck, and they should be pretty much landing them anywhere that they throw them, either on the air track, tumble track, or on the floor. This is the stage where they start upping the difficulty, start trying to tuck onto higher mats, starting to do more endurance training with their back tucks, like throwing them 5 times in a row. Also working less power, like if they were landing 5 out of 5 with a 2-step, now they're doing 1 step, they're dropping down to power hurdle, and then all the way down to drop step. If they have all their running tumbling tucks, then maybe they start doing their standing tumbling to tucks, more 3 to tucks, 2 to tucks, 1 to tucks, standing tucks. And then by then, once they get all those skills, they should already have started to do layouts and started to do a higher level of skills to start building the technique from those skills and then applying them into their back tucks. Learning layouts and applying the techniques and corrections from a layout into your tuck is going to be one of the most important steps when learning and improving your tumbling. Once you start twisting, that's a whole new level of skills, technique, and progression that you're going to apply for all your previous level skills. Enjoy the process right now while your back tuck is your hardest skill, but once you start making that a lot easier, you start making it one of your warm-up skills, and you start working on those higher level, more difficult skills, you'll be on your way to not only making yourself flip super easy, but doing it with the highest quality technique as well, and having no bad habits moving on to your hardest, most difficult skills in the future. Applying these 5 tips to your back tucks, I promise will greatly improve your comfort and your ability to throw your back tucks whenever you want. Some tumblers may only need 1, other tumblers may need all 5. But keeping these 5 tips as a reference will help you stay focused on what really works. Thank you all for watching, everyone. I hope you all learned something. If you're not subscribed, please make sure you hit that big red button and hit the bell button too so you can be notified of future videos. Make sure to check out all my other videos. I hope you all have a great new year, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.